Question 1. Do you know how many grapevines can be planted per acre? Answer. In a wide spacing of 566 vines per acre, one would ask each vine to ripen 44 clusters, 11 pounds, to achieve a 3.1 ton yield per acre. However, in a dense spacing of 2,723 vines per acre, you would ask each vine to ripen only 9 fruit clusters to achieve the same yield per acre. Question 2. Tell me where grapes are grown. Answer. Talk to other vineyards about the availability of vineyard workers. While grapes will grow in most climate zones in the United States, the types of grapes grown for wine, eating or juices have a much more limited growing area. Before planting any commercial vineyard, consult an expert in viticulture in your area. Question 3. Tell me, how do you grow grapes? Answer. Wine grapes are grown outdoors, in a warm, sheltered, sunny site, such as a south or southwest facing wall or fence. Grapevines grow on any soil, providing it is well drained. When planting a row of vines, a south-facing slope is desirable with the rows running north to south. Question 4. Tell me, what is vinification process? Answer. Winemaking or vinification is the production of wine, starting with selection of the grapes or other produce and ending with bottling the finished wine. Although most wine is made from grapes, it may also be made from other fruits or plants. Question 5. Tell me, what do you look for when you make wine? Answer. I'm looking for wines that taste good. That's obvious, but I'm looking for that. I'm also looking for wines that are in balance. I want some wines to be ready to drink right away and others that can be laid down to age for a while. I'm looking for the parameters and ingredients that can create that process and scenario. Question 6. Explain me, what does a viticulturist study? Answer. As a viticulturist, you're in the business of growing grapes. The art of grape growing is part science and part intuition, commonly known as trusting your gut. With your knowledge and skills, you grow grapevines that produce large quantities of juicy, mouth-watering grapes. Question 7. Tell me, what is the season for grapes in India? Answer. Wine grapes in India are harvested during February to April versus September to October elsewhere in the Northern Hemisphere. In this sense, we are like the industry down under, the Southern Hemisphere, Australia, South Africa, South America, where, too, the 2013 harvest is currently going on. Question 8. Tell me, what is the meaning of plant pathologist? Answer. Plant pathology is defined as the study of the organisms and environmental conditions that cause disease in plants, the mechanisms by which this occurs, the interactions between these causal agents and the plant, and the methods of managing or controlling plant disease. Question 9. Tell me, how long does it take for grapes to ripen? Answer. Most grapevines give you fruit in their third season. Your backyard grapevine can take up to 3 years to produce viable grapes, but that timeline is based on several environmental factors as well as how you care for the plant. Sunlight and well-drained soil are key to grape production, as is proper pruning. Question 10. Do you know what does nomology mean? Answer. Nomological network is a representation of the concepts, constructs of interest in a study, their observable manifestations, and the interrelationships among and between these. The term nomology has been derived from the Greek, meaning lawful, or in philosophy of science terms, law-like. Question 11. Tell me, what does an enologist do? Answer. Being an enologist does not necessarily indicate that that individual is also the winemaker. In the book, How to Launch Your Wine Career, the authors explain the two arms associated with wine production in California, the winemaker and the enologist. For a head winemaker position, one typically has to work up the ladder from assistant winemaker and may find themselves in several assistant winemaker positions prior to holding a head winemaker position. The enologist position develops through a different ladder within the winery, from a crush or harvest, in turn to a cellar worker to a lab assistant, and finally a cellar master before reaching the enologist position. Note that this development may not always be the case in smaller, commercial wineries. Question 12. Do you know how much does a viticulturist make a year? Answer. Depending on the size of the winery, vineyard managers reported average salaries of between $81,000 and $89,000 in 2011. The highest average salary, $88,279 per year, was reported by vineyard managers working for very large wineries that produce 5 lakhs or more cases of wine per year. Question 13. Tell me how much do wine cellar workers make? Answer. Winemakers will earn average salary of $95,263 this year, according to a salary survey of the wine industry conducted by Wine Business. More senior winemakers who supervised other winemakers will earn an average of $121,774. Question 14. Tell me what are the steps from harvesting to bottling? Answer. After harvest, once the wines ferment, the whites are either in stainless steel tanks or in barrels. The wine that's made in tanks ages for 3 to 5 months and then it gets bottled. After fermentation, the white that is in barrels, which is mostly Chardonnay, gets aged from about 7 to 10 months before it is bottled. The red wines, right after fermentation, go into barrels. If it is a light red, like a Pinot Noir, it might get bottled as soon as just before the next harvest. If it's a bigger, heavier wine like Cabernet, it stays in the barrel for about 2 years. Question 15. Explain me about the harvest process. Answer. As a winemaker, the first thing I do during harvest is walk through vineyards where I know the grapes are starting to get close to ripeness. They are already delicious by that point but are not ready to be picked. I walk through a vineyard with a baggie and pick a random sample of the grapes, one berry at a time, until I have half a baggie full of grapes. In the meantime, as many grapes as I'm putting in the bag I'm eating to taste how ripe the grapes are. On any given day during harvest, I eat hundreds of grapes. At the winery, I squeeze the baggies of grapes and analyze the juice to see what the numbers say about the acidity and sweetness. I use those numbers as guidelines, and when I'm in the range of the numbers I want, I spend the last few days in the vineyard just tasting grapes. When they taste right, it's time to pick them. We pick the grapes on the day I feel they are ready. With white grapes, the first thing we do is get rid of the stems with a machine and then squeeze the grapes. We take just the white grape juice and it goes into either a tank or to a barrel. We then add yeast and start fermenting it. With red grapes, again we take the stems away and this time we pump the grapes, skins and all into a tank. The juice of red grapes like Cabernet, Zinfandels, and Pinot Noir is clear as water, so we let the juice steep with the skins. With red grapes, it's the skins that have all the color and flavor. So the skins and juice steep together and then we add yeast to that and it ferments. When it's done fermenting, we drain the wine out of the tank and squeeze the grapes to get the last little bit of wine out. The harvest is pretty much over at that point. Of course there are a lot of little details in there, but that's basically what we do.